Yeah, sorry, I was just saying we've got six young horses all arrived yesterday, and one older horse that's in to bring back into work after some rehabilitation. So this, oh look at Jason's looking very scruffy with his shirt all over the place, my goodness. This is young Harry. Harry is a Knabstrupper. I am not sure if I've pronounced that right. So apologies for anyone with Knabstruppers. So yesterday he just had a little bit of handling, had a bridle put on so he got the feel of a bit, and this is his first sort of proper groundwork session with Jason. So it's a little bit like Groundhog Day today for Jason with all the starters. He's basically doing the same thing with each horse and getting to know them really. And by the look of things, they're all very, very different. Oh, actually, they're off the yard now. Sarah's just washing down young Fab up there. But they're all very different horses. So Jason's just getting him starting with a bit of lunging and just getting him moving around himself, moving around him. So he's having to put quite a bit of energy in there to get Harry to respond. So with a couple of the other horses, he wouldn't have needed to use the rope at all because they were quite lit up. They were quite energized anyway. So it'll be interesting to hear what Jason says about how he feels Harry's going to be. So here he's just asking for a bit of a flexion. So flexions are going to be really important during the starting process because it gives Jason control. Basically, if a horse has a bend in its body, it's going to find it very hard to flight or buck or rear or do any of those things. So it's like a real safety net, the flexions. So at the moment he's just doing them in a halter and rope. And you can sort of see that Harry's slightly distracted by things. I mean, it is a really big thing for these young horses to turn up on a completely different yard and yeah. How's it going, Jace?
Oh, these first few days are always a bit of a test. Keep me busy. It's usually quite fractious on the yard because they don't know where they are or what they're doing. And you can see here with young Harry, he's a little bit distracted. But all I'm doing in these first few sessions is I'm going to get some flexions, which helps him to relax, and a bit of forward. So you can see with Harry, when I was asking for a flexion to the left, he was leaning against me, and because he's leaning against me, he's feeling pressure, and he's taking that as a backwards cue. But it's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for him to relax, and so I'm waiting for that bend to come. And after a little while, I had to skip along with him a little bit. He started to relax in his neck and just bend, and that gives me access to his hind legs.
That was very loud.
So if he gets a bit flighty or anything, then I can just shift those back legs around. That's going to come in really handy for the first few rides. And with the forward, you'll notice with Harry, I'm having to be a little bit mindful. He's a bit, he's you know, these sort of quieter, I would say, type horses can be a little bit pushy when you tell them to move. So I've got to be really watching for when he does the right thing and try not to be intimidated if he's saying, I don't want to do this. So let's have a look at him. We'll just run through those things a couple of times until I start to feel him just relax, sort of get what I'm after, and then I'll move into putting some over to the round pen to put some gear on.
Yeah, so by gear, that will be a saddle pad and a roller, and he will sort of go through the same exercises with, and you can see there Harry's just a little bit like Do you want me to move on? He's being a little bit challenging. Whereas you'd get other horses that might be really overreactive and flighty, and so they need to be managed in a slightly different way. And so Jason's here checking out whether he's following him, whether he's going to get in his space or not. And here those flexions that he was talking about, and that looks like it's much better to the left than it was the first time. What he's really looking for is for his feet to stop moving and for him to just flex his neck. And when he does, he'll just hold him there for a minute and then release him so he knows he's done the right thing. Good boy, Harry. Right on cue. Yeah, so very exciting news. We got some rain this morning. I would love to say that it was a really good deluge. It wasn't. It was like a sprinkle. But, you know, we'll take that. And we've got slightly sort of overcast grey clouds. I think they're getting a lot more rain elsewhere. So if they could send it down to the southeast, that would be wonderful. I think we've got some storms on their way tomorrow. And you can see Harry's really just trying to work out what Jason's asking. And there, when he goes forward in that circle, Jason just stops and let him go. So, and that's a much better reaction that time. So you can see he's really learning all the time. And his attention is becoming a little bit more focused on Jason. He's starting to stop whinnying and looking round and paying attention to everyone else. Yeah. And we always find that, like, the first few days when the youngsters arrive, they, you know, some of them haven't really been off their place before, and you know, it's a massive thing, and they do take a little while to settle down. But this lot of horses that have come in have actually, you know, they're pretty quiet. They've been fairly well handled and things, and used to being stabled and all that kind of thing. So sometimes Jason, with the more reactive horses, might just show with his leading hand, and the horses will go. Sometimes he'll need to use a little bit of a twirly rope to just add a bit of energy. He's not actually touching the horse with it, but it's just adding that bit of energy to get those forward steps. Oh, did you? And these flexions are they're coming a lot easier now. So we've only been on here, I don't know, 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes, and he's already like really learning.
Yeah, so, you know, you can see Harry, particularly on the one rein, he's a little bit, shakes his head. He's saying, I don't really want to do this. And that's a sort of a behaviour that he's trying to use to get me to stop. And what I'm looking for is when he sort of moves out, then I'll stop. He might give me only a few strides of the right stuff, and then I'll just let him go with that for however long he wants to go, and then I'll just relax, and then I'll repeat until I get a little improvement each time, which he's starting to give me. But yeah, if I need to bump him with the rope or with a lunge whip, in order to maintain consistency, it is important that you do as much as necessary, but as little as possible, but as much as necessary. Because if they learn that they can be cranky and that you won't sort of get them to the other side of that, then cranky becomes a way of going. So sometimes a little bump there can make them go, oh, okay, well, I'll get going, and then suddenly get them to the other side, and that becomes normal, just with a gesture to go, okay, I'll just go forward. So yeah, there's a certain sort of assertiveness that you need to have with these young horses in the beginning, particularly with horses like Harry, he might have a little opinion about things. So, but he's good. He'll get there. And the key to it all is not what you do. It's, you know, to create it. It's when you stop. It's that sort of, yeah, mate, there it is, and just give them a bit of space.
And his flexions are already. He's
good.
Yeah.
He's good. He may have already done some before in the past.
Yeah.
But in a strange environment, you sort of revisit those sort of things.
Yeah. So he's heading off into the round pen now. So again, even just going into, you know, this situation, some of the young horses that come in, they stand here for a good couple of minutes on the brink, sort of wondering whether to make the step into the round pen. But Harry here has obviously been, you know, well handled, and he's, you know, he's pretty confident. And
you can say flexions is a great way, if you've got it on them, just to get them to relax.
yeah. So what I was saying before about the flexions, you know, helping with controlling flight and all that kind of thing when Jason actually starts riding them, he's actually just said, you know, that they're actually a really good way of relaxing the horse, because you're basically, again, if you're putting bend in your body or bend in your neck and things, you're just taking that tension out. I suppose it's the equivalent of us sort of giving ourselves a little stretch, isn't it? It sort of releases that tension in our shoulders and things if we're... And you can see there, he's, you know, can you see that? He's sort of got hold of the rope, and he's, yeah.
So he'll have a little moment at some point where he might have a little kick up or a little sort of squeal and a bark at some point, just because...
I don't know if you can hear Jason, but he's saying, you know, he's just got that slight, his prediction is that at some point he's going to, you know, have a little kick up and a little buck. He's going to have that challenging moment where he really asks Jason, do I have to do this? Because I don't really want to. And that's going to be the sort of, you know, that real crux in his training. And then he'll get over that and he'll be good. You know, as I was saying before, some of the young horses, they're completely different. They're really reactive and it's almost like the opposite. You're just trying to be as quiet as possible. But with horses like Harry that are a bit, you know, overconfident, you know, you have to be quite sort of assertive and say, hey, mate, we're, you know, I'm in charge and you need to respect me. And he's just looking for those back legs to stop and those flexions to come. And you can see how he's draped the rope over his body. That's all, again, like just little preparations of getting a roller over. And before he puts the roller on, he'll probably actually pull the rope through so it's actually round his girth area, and he'll probably just test his reactions to that. Well, guys, yeah, he's got very unusual markings. He's I apologise, I said this at the beginning, he's a Knabstrupper, I think that's how you pronounce it. I'll probably be corrected. I think he was bred up in Scotland. He actually comes from Staffordshire, so he came a long way yesterday. So even that in itself, you know, a big journey like that, it's, you know, he's actually just settled in really, really quickly in his stable. So he's been a good chap so far.
So I'm just sort of advancing on a little bit. So I've got the flexions are starting to come, but I need him to sort of step round his front end a little bit, just have that option. If a horse can't step round their front end or do a sort of a turn on the forehand on the ground, then every time you turn them left and right, they step forward or into you, and that's where they start treading on your toes and bumping you with their shoulder and that sort of thing. So from this flexion, I might just sort of walk into his hip a little bit, and I expect when I walk into his hip with a bend, he doesn't fall forward with his front legs, he moves his back legs out of the way. So I'll see if we can just get that
Cool.
to happen.
Well, we'll just see if he can get that to happen. So when he steps into him, he's not looking for a forward step, he's looking for the back legs to just cross over, almost sort of like a disengagement of the hind end, or in dressage terms, it would be a turn on the forehand. So you see the front legs are still moving a little bit.
Which is fine, but the back legs are moving more, so...
Yeah, he's just said as long as the back legs are moving more, then he'll take that at this stage. Oh, that was a good one. You see those back legs crossing over? Cool.
Let's do one more forward and then we're going to put some gear on.
Righto, guys. He's just going to do one more little lunge and then he'll start introducing rollers and things. So, hope you enjoyed that. It's always good to see horses when they first arrive, and then hopefully we'll check back in with Harry in a few weeks' time, and he'll be being ridden, and yeah, you can see the progress. All right, guys. Well, I hope if you're in the UK somewhere, you're getting lots of rain. I hope if you're in Australia, where you've been having lots of rain, it dries up a bit for you. It's a bit crazy, isn't it? It seems to be all the wrong way round. And if you're somewhere else in the world, have a great day or great evening. All right, guys, we'll catch up with you next Tuesday, and hopefully we'll have another young horse on the probably in its first few rides.
Yep, next week there'll
Cool.
be some first rides on.
Oh, Gemma's watching. Oh, look, Harry, say hello to your owner.
He's promptly obliged.
All right, guys, we'll see you later. Cheers.